Project 571, genetically engineered vampire created to destroy evil.
What do you want?
We need your help to kill a vampire.
Malleus Maleficario. It was written by a witch. The first witch. Titania.
That was a little snippet from The Witch's Hammer, the first film I ever solo directed, and it's just been remastered and re-released on Amazon. So if you like witches and vampires, then please do check it out. Anyway, let's get on with this week's episode.
We basically wanted to prove to people this is what we could do with nothing. You know, a couple of short scenes, a gore gag with the face rip, just to show people that, we don't need AI to sort of tell you, oh, this is what it could look like.
Hi, Jim here. You're listening to the Honest Filmmaker podcast. This week, I'm joined by filmmaker Aaron Truss. How you doing, Aaron?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining me. So we're going to talk about filmmaking. We're going to talk about making the move from short films to a feature film, which you're just about to do. And we will also talk about Employee of the Dead, which is your film you're crowdfunding at the moment. But let's start at the beginning. Talk to me about how you first kind of came to filmmaking.
Filmmaking has always sort of been there. I'm pretty sure I have some mild form of autism because as a kid, I used to be obsessed with films and television, and I would rewatch certain movies over and over again like an obsession. And it just became one of those things where once I discovered something, I would latch onto it and I would study it and I would draw it. And, I'd be drawing scenes from films that I'd seen in like scrapbooks and things like that, not knowing that I was essentially just storyboarding, looking back on it. But I found the idea of television and movies in general from a very young age really fascinating. And TV and film from a very young age can be very influential, so when someone dies on TV, you don't have the brain capacity to understand that it's not real, but the concept of death and love and hate and fear, they're all real things you feel as a kid. But then when you see it on the screen dramatized and it's theatrical, I was drawn to that. I was drawn to things like drama and things like that. And I initially thought I wanted to be an actor, but I did acting classes. I went to a theatre school, and as time went on, I began to realize I enjoyed the filmmaking process even more. So it would start with editing, and then it became actually shooting my own stuff. So borrowing my mum's video camera and DV tapes and things like that, asking for a Firewire for Christmas from my dad, so I could edit my own movies at home. So yeah, that's where it kind of started. It was a huge obsession with horror films, comedy films. Batman '89 is one.
Batman '89,
that
is mine as well. That's my moment.
Yeah,
that opening sequence, that was just it. It was just after that opening sequence.
Blew my mind.
Yeah.
And the music and everything about that film to a child it's dark, it's mysterious. Everything about it was the first VHS tape I ever owned, and I remember watching it to death, and I can quote it now still. Like it's just, Jake West and I will quote Batman Returns to each other, just, in public, and we'll just switch to Batman mode. But I would say, things like Batman and the Bond films were a huge influence on me as well. Like, Sean Connery stuff as well, like Goldfinger. Used to love watching stuff like that. And I'd find myself gravitating towards older movies as a kid, which wasn't really kids my age were, I was into Jumanji, I was into, all the usual stuff that was coming out. But you stick me in front of a Chomp at Oxford and Way Out West with Laurel and Hardy, I was absolutely, that was my happy place. I could sit and watch Laurel and Hardy and Buster Keaton and Harold Lloyd, people like that, and it's still funny. I still laugh at that stuff. And I think the older the film was, to me as a kid, the older the film was, the more you could see the strings and the more you knew that, you know, the budget would show or the special effects would show, but you'd still think it was quite charming.
And that, yeah, Batman, wow. And the thing is, I have watched that recently, and I tried to show it to the kids, but it just doesn't. Now we've had all these other Batmen, is that what I say?
Batman.
It doesn't have the same impact at all because it was kind of one of the first ones to do that. Um, but I've said this before, but the big honor for me was when we shot the first film I shot on 35, we got Panavision cameras for, and they were the cameras they shot Batman 89 on. Well,
Wow.
that alone, I mean, it doesn't, the film we shot doesn't look like Batman 89, obviously, because I didn't have the budget, but just to have those rickety old cameras, but they were used on a film like that. Oh my God. Um, so you've made a bunch of short films. You're now about to do a feature. What's the what do you think stops filmmakers from making the jump from a short film to a feature film?
I think it's the time, the dedication, the stress, the commitment is a big one. Um, you know, I've always shot on digital. I've never known a world to shoot on film. I've heard Jake West talking about shooting on film and um, how strict you have to be and
Oh,
things
it's
like that.
horrific.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I can imagine. And it's a discipline that you know, one day would love to experiment with,
Mm.
but never for a feature. I mean, digital, thank God, has, you know, it's given filmmakers so much freedom and you know, shooting in 4K. This will be the second time I'll be shooting in 4K. So working on short films, you know, you know, there's less days, less blocks to shoot in. If there's someone gets ill or whatever, like your lead actor or whatever, then there is a bit more leeway to be like, right, okay, we just need to reschedule this location, and you know, we're only going to be shooting for a couple of days, and there's less time spent on the project in terms of shooting, I suppose. I mean, I'm just speaking from my experience, but when we did Paradolia, which was the last short I did, we shot for 4 days, I think,
Mm.
spread over 3 months, I think it was. Two on location in Robertsbridge, which is this quaint old village in Sussex. Uh, one day on set in a mortuary, not a real mortuary, it was a mortuary set in Southall, the hospital studio. Shout out to Lizzie Dyer. Um, and the other day was just pickups that
Mm.
we needed to get without the main actress. So yeah, I think there is a lot more freedom. There's a lot less worries, a lot less stress. With a feature film, uh, I think as a filmmaker now, as we speak presently, I was I underestimated how ready I was. And I
Mm.
don't think you will ever be ready to take on your first feature film because it puts a strain on whatever relationship you're in with your partner. It puts a strain on your family. You, especially if you're crowdfunding and you're trying to raise awareness, you realize that you have no time. How much money are you willing to spend up front just to get the project off the ground? Because this, for example, Employ of the Dead, we decided that rather than just have a regular crowdfunding video where I'd sit on camera and go, hello, my name is Aaron Truss and I've got this vision. Here are some storyboards and blah, blah. I decided that let's shoot some scenes from the film. We've already got commitments from Dani Harmer and Paul Casar and Ellie Ray Winstone. Let's go and shoot. We have a location. We have some locations, and just by like pure like knocking on doors, we managed to shoot some of our sequences in a Morrison's in Kent
Nice.
for 3 to 4 hours with permission this time.
Yeah.
And we figured this film's only going to work if we have a real supermarket. You can't
Mm.
fake that. You know, once you see that it's not a real supermarket, you're taken out of the game completely. And we decided to shoot a lot of proof of concept stuff, some interviews. We even got Simon Boswell, who did the music for Shallow Grave and Mother's Pride. He's doing our soundtrack, and I asked him to score some bits for the promos as well. So you're really getting a proof of concept, and the whole thing altogether cost us around about £500,
Mm.
and that's split between myself, and Joe Akers. and that was paying for everyone's travel, that was paying for their food, that was putting actors up in hotels for the night to shoot on location
That's
in
pretty good.
Essex.
£500. That's
Yeah, yeah, it's
yeah,
it's
done well.
it's yeah, but I can imagine some people will be like, 500 quid, like,
Mm,
can't just a producer give me some money and go and do it?
mm,
No, that's not, it's not how it works. The real world is that no one wants to give you money, and there's always someone else who has a better idea than you. And we knew going in that this project wasn't a high concept story. It's a very personal story, but it's the story again that's making people want to come on board and do it. But from an investment point of view and a low budget point of view, it's a risky investment, and that's why we struggled in the beginning to try and get some commitment from people, because it wasn't a straightforward story. It was something deeper, it was something more meaningful. And I think that's why once we get our budget employer that it will be, we'll celebrate some kind of success, because it is going to be made with people who not only enjoy working with one another, but they're really committed to it, knowing that they're not going to get any sort of financial grandeur out of this, but an epic movie. And that, I love that. That takes me back to making films as a kid. It's getting your mates to dress up in costume and just shoot whatever you can. But with this, we have our boards, we have our script, and we have a few producers on board who really want to see this happen. And I think, going back to what you were saying, I think the thing that might stop filmmakers from doing it is just the sheer amount of energy you need for it, and the sheer amount of brain power you need, because you will have 1,000 things to do today and then 2,000 more tomorrow. And unless you have a good team around you of people who want to support you and make it happen, um, it's not going to happen. You're not going to do it by yourself. It's impossible to do this kind of thing. I've got a team of people: Adam Brown, Nacho Mathwakos, Ellie Ray Winstone, Joe Akers, Jake West, and that's like the core team. So we delegate what we're going to do: socials, searching for funding, all kinds of stuff. So I'm very blessed to have a great team behind you.
yeah, definitely. That team's really important. And I'd say for me, because I kind of started off the other way around, as soon as I left uni, I went straight into a feature film and then kind of just kept doing that. I've done some short films in between, but I think that overwhelming fear of how, and it's a lot, making a feature film is a lot of hard work, but I do think that fear, to me, I feel like if you're going to put all that effort into a short film, and a lot of money. People spend a lot of money on short films these days, which they could use that money and make a feature film. But if you're going to put all that effort in, and I've done a few short films where I'm on day 3 of the short film, and I'm like, we're rolling now. If this was a feature, we could have just kept the ball rolling,
Yeah.
and sort of stretched that money out so that we could make this into a feature. So if you are out there thinking about making another short film, really do think, could this be a feature? How many days can I cram it into and still make it a good film? But don't kind of just keep making short films, because I do think people sometimes get stuck in that loop of short film, short film, short film. But completely understand all the stuff you were saying. So you touched on crowdfunding a little bit there. Was your short film before? Have you done crowdfunding before? Or is this your first time?
I the short film I did previously was a crowdfund. I
Yeah,
didn't crowdfund it really. I sort of helped make the crowdfund,
yeah.
and I think it was moderately successful because we had a budget, but we did have some private investors who came on board for a short film. Again, it's amazing that we did, because, like you were saying, short films, they don't really, you don't really get anything out of it in terms of, you can't sell them really,
Mm,
and they're more sort of stepping stone. You either do short films for the love of making short films, or you do it because it's a stepping stone towards making a feature, and you need some sort of proof, like a show reel
yeah.
or something. And I think with the crowdfund that we had before, I can't remember off the top of my head, I think we raised like something like 7 grand. I know
Mm.
the producer on that film will probably like, no, it wasn't, but I could be wrong. I know there was a lot of money put into it, and it was money worth spent. And for this, for example, with the crowdfund on a feature, I've never done it before. This is the first time that the entire team, except for Jake, have done crowdfunds, and it's a very, very, like, you have to triple check everything, because crowdfunding on the platform of Indiegogo, for example, which is the one that we're using, there were a lot of things that we missed. It's not the easiest platform to use. And for example, this is something that I found out today. Our target is 50K.
Yep.
Indiegogo used to have this rule, which was basically, if you don't raise all the money, you can take whatever you've raised so far. That changed in October, and I found out today.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, our goal is 50K. We don't reach 50K,
you don't get anything. Wow.
Don't get anything. So that's lit a fire under us even more than the fire that we already. Someone turned the heat up on the gas, and it's a scary thought, but also at the same time, we're just over a week in now. We've got 24 days left. So, and I think we're up to $7,000, which when you look at it, 7 to 50, that's a huge jump. So everything we're doing, everything we're trying to do to make the public aware of what we're doing has just gone into fifth gear. And
I bet. And the other thing is the just to jump in there on that point, I've spoken to filmmakers before, and that what they used to do is however much you raised, you got. But that's kind of a double-edged sword, because then you'd be making this film that you know is going to cost 50K for 20, and suddenly you're making all these sacrifices, and you're just going to have to deliver it for that much money. So I guess that I hope you reach that 50, because then you'll make the film you want to make, not a kind of reduced version of it. And is it, I mean, I've noticed on social media, you're like every single day, post. I'm assuming, and what day are we on now? So how far are you into it?
So we launched last Tuesday morning, I think.
Tuesday morning. And is that you 24/7 now? You're just...
Yeah, that's myself and Ellie Ray Winstone. We are tackling Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and we're moving into Reddit and Tumblr and YouTube Shorts. And when we shot all the promo stuff, so proof of concept, interviews, we have a rough sum of 5 hours worth of content.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so that helps.
Yeah, so we've got everything from interviews to the proof of concept stuff and BTS and things like that. And we're, every day we're putting out something new and fresh. Some people have come up to me saying, "Oh, I hear you're looking for completion funds for your film." I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like I've seen some of it. It looks great. I'm like, "No, we haven't shot anything. This is just for the proof of concept. This is how committed we are to." If someone's going to hand over money or a large amount of money, we basically wanted to prove to people this is what we could do with nothing. A couple of short scenes, a gore gag with the face rip, just to show people that we don't need AI to sort of tell you, oh, this is what it could look like. Well, it won't look like that, because that's AI. It's a generated image, used with prompts, and nothing that we've done on this film has involved AI at all. We wanted to make that very clear, that we wanted to do a grassroots, if the gore gag didn't work, that's the gore gag you're getting, because we can't redo it. That's, we have to go with it. Thankfully, it looks epic on screen, but it's very much a very strange and sort of complicated world when it comes to social media, because it's different demographics. It's, do you go for the Tracy Beaker fans, for example, in our case? Do you go for the horror fans? Do you go for both? And now we have Nick Helm on board. It's kind of solidified us as a comedy. So people know, oh, it's a comedy film starring Nick Helm, so this must be a comedy. But yeah, it's very hard to sort of manage it every day. We use the scheduling tool from time to time, but a lot of it is hot off the press news. So we have to take 20 minutes to sit down, go through everything. We don't schedule stuff to go out on Facebook and Instagram, for example, all at once. We tailor it so they're separate posts because I don't believe in the algorithms doing that. I'd like to give it a personal touch.
Yeah.
Get them excited, whet their appetite, and then give them a link to give them the option to see if they want to go further, because that decision's not up to you.
So now we're going to move on to Employ of the Dead, and we're joined by Paul Casar, who's one of the stars of the film. Hi, Paul. Thank you for joining us.
How you doing, Jimmy? Good.
Very well, thank you. Very well, thank you. So we've talked a bit about filmmaking. As we go into this, Aaron, first off, give us the pitch for the film. What's it about?
Well, the film is based on a true story, and it's about a guy who's worked in a supermarket for the last 10 years or so since university, and he's not really done anything with his life. And meanwhile, his sister has become this television actress, and she's doing really well for herself. And he's basically going from checkout to checkout to checkout to coffin. And his life is starting to unravel as he starts to reach 40, and he thinks, I need to do something in my life. I need to get back on the horse, and I need to get back into my filmmaking. And it just so happens that he is given an opportunity where some very expensive camera equipment lands in his lap, and he's told that the supermarket he works in, they need some TikToks. They need to get the kids into food. They need to save this failing supermarket. And he thinks, yeah, I could do that. Or I could make a feature film. And he decides to go for the latter, and he decides he's going to rope in all his friends, everyone he knows, and he's going to cast, he's going to crew, and he's going to make a zero budget feature film on the night shift while his boss is away getting training in Stockholm. And he's going to do it all before the boss gets back, and he's going to have his own movie, and he's going to get it into Fright Fest.
Lovely. Love it. Love it. We'd all like to do that. And then, so Paul, how do you fit into this?
Well, I play one of the characters, Rob, that was originally played in a short film that Aaron, Joe, and Rob made, what, 20 odd years ago, Aaron?
Almost 20 years, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this character was originally played by Rob Knox, and that's where I kind of fit into the story. And yeah, it's a part I'm sort of really humbled to be playing.
And you're Mr. TV, done loads of television work, and I guess this is for other filmmakers. This film, at the moment, you're crowdfunding, you're trying to get to about 50 grand, I think. So that's still micro budget. So Paul, why are you working on micro budget films when you got your TV stuff?
I mean, it always comes down to story and people you're working with. I mean, I first met Aaron at the Rob Knox Film Festival. I was there with a short film that picked up an award, I think. And then a trailer dropped for Employee of the Dead with Dani in there. And I remember seeing it, and just I think it was the occasion. It was just the love that was in the room. It was just sort of Rob's legacy that was still kind of living on, and there was so much hope in that room as well in terms of storytelling and just getting stuff done. So yeah, I kind of got in touch with Aaron, wished him the best of luck with the film, and obviously said, look, if there's anything suitable, let me know. And thankfully, Aaron did get back in touch, sent me the script, which I absolutely loved. It's it's incredibly funny. It's got so much heart to it. And then I did a self-tape, and that seemed to work. And Aaron offered us a part in the film. But yeah, I think I've said this a few times. I feel like there's a real kind of revolution or a real kind of rebellion with filmmaking at the moment. I think as an audience, and even us, that work within the industry, I think we're kind of tiring of the same stories all the time, and possibly seeing the same sort of actors and the same narratives. And it's just lovely to be a part of something that's totally independent. This is a group of amazing, talented, really kind people that want to make a film because they really believe in this film. And I think it will find its audience. Like I said, it's got a lot of heart. So it's nice to be a part of that kind of movement. And I think we need to see more of that, to be honest. I guess that's why so many things are kind of almost being sort of self-funded or crowdfunded. But I think there's a real appetite out there. I think audiences generally are starting to understand that and want a bit of variety. They want to see different stories. It's all great, good and well having the big blockbusters, but I think as an audience, we want to hear other voices, other stories, other perspectives. We want to see new emerging talents coming through.
Yeah, definitely. And so, Aaron, for you, Paul mentioned came from a short film that you'd made years and years ago, and I think I read somewhere you spent like 20 quid on it. Is that right? Is that the story?
20 quid. I don't even know if we had 20 quid at the time shared
Maybe
between
not
us.
20 quid.
But no, yeah, that is true. It was a university challenge, not the university challenge, but we were, as students, given this task to do, which was to go away and do the 48-hour challenge,
Yeah.
which I know a lot of filmmakers do, and it's a lot of fun. And you're given a prop you're meant to use, a line of dialogue you're meant to use, and it has to be a horror film. And everyone went away really excited, and I had no idea what I was going to do. And I was working at Sainsbury's part-time at the weekends doing the loading bay stuff. I was only 18, and I thought, well, there's a location right there. And I thought, well, let's start with the location and work backwards. So I don't know how it happened, but we ended up on zombies, maybe because we were just huge horror fans at the time, and we had these delusions of grandeur about being the next Edgar Wright or whatever. And we thought, okay, it's about a supermarket apocalypse, whatever. Two guys on the night shift, and they're locked in overnight, and the boss has the keys, but the boss becomes a zombie because he eats some really bad shepherd's pie, and which is plausible.
Yep.
And that was the story. We got it all done in 48 hours. We cast, wrote, shot it, and snuck into my work late on a Friday evening, waited in the canteen till they shut up shop, just sort of told a few
Risky.
people. It was risky. It was like, I still can't believe we got away with it. You try doing that now,
Yeah.
you would not get away with it. And our whole thing was, let's do it. It sounds fun. Let's go for it. And we did. And we had to work around all the people who were stacking the shelves at night, and had to sort of say to them, look, if you hear screaming, don't worry about it. It's just us filming a movie. And of course, you think about it now, and you think about insurance, and just for even a silly little student film, if anything had gone wrong, that would have been it. That we would have been in deep trouble. Because we did end the movie with Rob Knox as a zombie being lured into a box crusher, those recycled things that crush down. And we were very careful with it. I knew how to use it from work and stuff, but if they'd have caught me using it to do this again, I would have got in serious trouble. But we got away with it. It's been 20 odd years, like Paul said, so I can talk about it. Sainsbury's, and yeah. But yeah, that's where it started. And the reason why it's probably got a bit of a cultish following is because of Rob Knox, who died. He was murdered just weeks after we shot the film. He never actually saw the film. So when we did Employ of the Dead, the original, that was the last time we saw him. And it was kind of bittersweet because it was one of the best nights of my life. And it was quite sad because I'd get a phone call weeks later saying, yeah, he was gone. And every time I watch the original, it puts a smile on my face because you just know that underneath everything, we're having so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's naughty, but we're having so much fun.
So that was the first film you'd made, was it, or was it the first one out of uni, or where does it fit in?
It was during university. I wouldn't call it my first film. I was really embarrassed about showing it to anyone, really, and it was only through the years when you start to look back at it and go, actually, no, there are some merits in this film. You can see where you're trying. Like, we invented the dolly trolley. I'm pretty sure we did. I don't know anyone else who's done it. They might have done, but we basically put the Sony PD-150 on a camera, on the tripod, sorry, and placed it in the trolley. And then we had, we could move anywhere as long as we were in frame. And we got some really nice tracking shots with it.
Casting is super key when you're doing something that's crowdfunded, because obviously you're hoping to use people's existing audiences to kind of help get more people behind the film. So you've got Dani Harmer, who was Tracy Beaker, which kind of ties into the plot really nicely, and Nick Helm. So Nick's a stand-up comedian. How, for other filmmakers, how do you go about approaching somebody like that? Did you already know them, or was this through a friend? What's the tips for kind of making contact?
In terms of Nick Helm and Dani Harmer, I both were first choices for the film, which is unbelievable. Dani, I've known from the Rob Knox Foundation and the Rob Knox documentary because she worked with Rob Knox on the sitcom After You've Gone with Nicholas Lyndhurst. And we've known each other sort of on and off over the years. And she's been a patron of the charity. We've done some charity work with her. She's presented awards at the festival, things like that. And when we were writing the script, I said to Joe Akers, it would be fantastic if we could get Dani to take a look at this and see if she would be interested for one of the co-leads in the film, the sister of the guy who's trying to make a film, Huben. And after a few texts back and forth about what we were trying to do, we had a call one day on Zoom, and she absolutely loved the script, which took me by surprise because who the hell are we? We're not BBC. We're not, we're not big. We're not a big studio. Or we're basically going to crowdfund this, and she's aware that it's a low budget or very low budget. But I think it's the story that is attracting people. The same with Nick. The way I got Nick involved was I opened for him once about 15 years ago when I did stand up in London. It was a pub gig. And we had a few beers and we had a laugh afterwards. And he was really hot at the time. Like he was like straight off of Russell Howard's show, and he was taken off in a big way. And then we didn't speak to each other for like 15 years. And then I randomly bump into him at an event that we both weren't meant to be at and weren't really feeling it. And we just bumped into each other on the stairs. And we caught up, and I told him about the script that I was planning on sending him eventually. And he took one look at it, and within 24 hours, he sent over an audition tape, and we cast him straight away. And again, he understands that it's a very low budget. He understands there are certain risks involved in what we're trying to do, but he doesn't care. He has this effort mentality, and he wants to do it because he loves the script. And I think that's what's drawing people in. We haven't written we spent 2 years writing this script and perfecting it and getting it really, really solid and tight, trimming the fat. And we have this kind of Breakfast Club type British story that people love. And I'm really glad, because as soon as they read the script, that's it. If that's all it takes, you're in.
Yeah. Cool. That sounds good. And that's good tips. I guess it's for the filmmakers out there. You can approach people, cold, but it doesn't hurt to have these existing relationships and build relationships over time. Like you say, that networking thing, it is a bit of a drain. I think personally it's probably easier for actors. I don't know about you, Paul. What's your kind of networking top tips?
Again, it's not something I've been great at over the years, to be honest. And interestingly, it's like I haven't done short films for years. And then I did 3 last year, and all of them have done and are continuing to do well at festivals. So with each sort of screening or each awards, the directors are inviting me along. So I'm kind of learning to network now, which is quite late. So I sometimes kick myself and think I should have been doing this 20 odd years ago. But it's great because, I mean, you're there, you're watching other people's work, and I found it really helpful. So, even if I don't get to speak to someone directly at the event, we've got, social media, we've got Instagram, which I think is a great tool professionally. I mean, obviously there's a lot of garbage on there, but you can use it really well professionally and just reach out to people. And that's what I've been doing. It's like, if I see something I really like, or there's a really good director, that's coming through that I want to work with, or, I'll just send them a message, and it usually picks up from there. So there's another short that, I had a meeting today, so I'll be on board for that. And again, that was just, watching the director's last film at the Director Note Awards.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's the same way. But I'd always say, if there's an actor or someone you want to work with, I know sort of agents can be sort of gatekeepers, but do do get in touch, because most of the time you'll find that people are keen to work.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, I think it was Terence Stamp that said for years after he did Superman 2, like the phone just didn't ring.
Mm.
And that's because people thought he was at such a high, sort of point in his career that he just wouldn't be interested in doing anything that wasn't, multi-million pounds. And he said he just didn't work for years because no one got in touch with him. No one got in touch with his agent. And, he spent 10 years in an exodus. Whereas, when he came out of it, there were so many people that came forward and said, we had this script, we had this film, we really wanted you, but we didn't dare ask you. So, yeah,
Well,
just reach out.
That's how I remembered you, though, Paul, because it was immediately after the festival. We didn't really get a chance to properly network, but you sent me a lovely message. And there's a difference between the message that you've sent me saying, "Oh, I hope everything goes well with Employee of the Dead. If you ever need anything, let me know." And it was a very genuine message.
Yeah.
When Employee of the Dead kicked off, and I know a lot of other directors have had this, where it looks like you're being really successful. I mean, on the front of things, it might look like that we're being really successful with Employee of the Dead and the crowdfund. But the truth is, we're crowdfunding. We're asking people for money to join us on this journey to help make this film. And I'll get people who like come out of the woodwork, like actors who don't bother to ask how you're doing. They just basically get straight in there with a big Rosetta Stone email saying, "Here's my IMDb credits, here's what I've done, blah, 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 blah." They don't even mention the film that you're doing. They just see you doing really well and just bombard you with spam. And I'll be honest, I don't really read them because it's like, "Oh, my name's Aaron, let's have a drink." The reason why the networking thing works for me is because it feels like you're genuinely trying to make friends in the industry. You go see their films, you support them. You hope to God that one day you'll be on their level doing Rain Dance or Fright Fest or something. And that's how it worked for me. I just became friends with everyone and listened to what they said, kept my mouth shut and just listened and was nice about it. And every once in a while, someone will say they need something or some editing done, and I'll jump in there and go, "Hey, I'll help you on something." And you kind of make a friendship. And then when the big thing happens, and everyone will have a big thing in their professional career, the very beginning, like we are now, or I am now, that's when I call in the favors and say, "Look, I'm working on something big. Do you want to come join the team?" And we're going to be working for peanuts, but the result is going to be absolutely splendid. Like we're going to make the best film of the effing year and whatever, and we're going to like really have fun with this one. And I think that's when it all comes together. And I think that's why Nick and Dani and Paul and the networking has paid off. It's years of friendship. It's years of being there for each other. If they've got a project on, I'm supporting Paul, the film that you're in at Fright Fest in a couple of weeks' time, Hoarder, right?
Thank you. Yeah, Hoarder. Yeah, 29th.
Yeah, and it's just supporting your filmmaker friends, your acting friends, and just make sure they succeed, because one day you'll be asking them to help you succeed.
Yeah, I think that's like we said a few times. It's tribal. It's finding your tribe.
Yeah, exactly. I think we have a very good tribe.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, and everyone's so supportive and so kind, and that's what you want. It's this industry can be quite tough sometimes. So when you find good people that sort of share that vision and are willing to put the work in and want to make a success of things, it's lovely. It just makes life a lot easier, and you've got that support around you.
Lovely. And what a wonderful way to end that. And I will also say I'll put links to the crowdfunding in the description below. So if you like the sound of Employee of the Dead, please do support it. And I'll see you on the next one.